Hi, welcome to Longmeadow Days 2016. I'm Paul Santinello, the host of The Upside. Today I found wandering around our town green Nick Cocchi. Nick, thanks for coming.
Hey, Paul. It's good to see you.
Nick's the assistant superintendent at the Hamden County House of Corrections. He's running for sheriff. Nick, what brought you out today to Longmeadow?
Well, I think first and foremost, pay my respects for Memorial Day and for the great men and women who have served our country and have paid the ultimate sacrifice. It was just a beautiful ceremony, very moving, and I can just say to all the families that have men and women serving our country still presently today, thank you for allowing us to have them protecting us each and every day.
Very good, and it is one of the best things about Longmeadow Day. This ceremony's been going on well over 100 years, since I think 5 years after the Civil War it started. So it's probably, like I said, probably one of the best features of Longmeadow Days. So now you're on the campaign trail. Summer's coming along. You've been doing a lot of door knocking, meeting. You've received some tremendous endorsements recently. Why don't you tell us about them?
You know, we've been very blessed. We've had some great momentum in the month of May. We received the Mass Police Chiefs Association endorsement, the Mass Police Association, about 20,000 members. And what we're doing is by going door to door, we're reaching out to the voter that's going to be voting on September 8th, and we're just asking them to consider us. And really the feedback has been very positive. You know, we're talking about our message of being a sheriff's department that continues to put every effort into rehabilitating our offenders. But most importantly, I'm dropping off my resume. As you've heard me say many times, Paul, this is not an election of politics. It is an election of experience. With 23 years of experience at the Hamden County Sheriff's Department, doing the job, punching the time clock every day, that's what has prepared me to be the most qualified candidate for sheriff. And I walk around and talk to many people, and it's resonating with the voting public. You've worked your way up. I'm not looking for a soft landing. I'm looking for the next promotion in my career, and that comes from the people of Hamden County.
Right. And the one thing, you know, I do want to emphasize, there's a good number of candidates in there. There will be a Democrat primary. It's on Thursday, September 8th, because Tuesday is a holiday, Monday's a holiday, so it will actually be Thursday, September 8th. You got to remember that date. But a lot of them are touting experience, and what I like to tell people about you is that you were a corrections officer first. This wasn't some job you got out of college, you wore a suit and tie every day. You've earned it and worked your way up within the ranks, so to speak.
Well, first of all, thank you, and that's absolutely right. You know, there's a difference between years of experience and years of service. I have 23 years of experience of being a correctional officer, a correctional supervisor, and then a correctional administrator, which presently today I sit daily and operate the overall operations of the jail.
Yep.
There's others in the race that are going to tout years of service.
Right.
But years of service and years of experience do not equal the same thing.
Right.
And I will be the only candidate, and am the only candidate, that has a 360-degree understanding of what it takes to run a correctional institution, from incarceration to budgetary and finances to staffing issues to just totally understanding the climate and what's required of the men and women to serve the county of Hamden.
Right, and that's a major difference, and that line needs to be drawn about working in some facility versus understanding the facility. So, if you had to go back into corrections as an officer, you understand what they do every day, and
right.
you understand exactly from what first thing they do in the morning to what they walk home at night. The same thing as you go through administration. You've been there and done that type of thing, and it's a very different level of experience. I'm just seeing two people walking by with your stickers on them that thought they were so cool looking. They had two young people, so I'm sorry. But I just wanted to emphasize that point.
That's a good thing, Paul. We like that. We like seeing stickers.
It's a very big difference in making sure people understand of someone who just walked into an office. And I'm not criticizing anybody. Don't get me wrong. Everybody brings a little bit something to a campaign, that in my belief. But I believe that you're there for serving and continue to serve. And I think we've seen that with our clerk of courts and our register of probate, DA's race, where I think people understand, not in today's manner, this isn't political. It is political because you have to run for it.
Absolutely.
But it's not political in the sense of, you're going to go on to that next step of congressman, senator, president, that type of thing.
No, I just enjoy what I do every day.
Yep.
And I've never left.
Right.
I never had a break in service. I walked in as a correctional officer out of the academy, and I've stayed there for 23 years.
Yep.
And I've never broke my service, but more importantly, I was a correctional officer.
Yep.
I work with the inmates.
Hey,
I still work with inmates.
I know, and that's another story we're going to talk about. But you also received a really big endorsement we didn't really say. You talked about the Mass Police Association, which is important. There's 20,000 members, you said, across the state.
That's
So
right.
That's a big deal. The Mass Police Chiefs is a big deal because that's the whole association for every city and town. Their chiefs belong to that. But there's also another endorsement that we didn't mention, which is the current sheriff.
That's right.
Michael J. Ash, who's been in there for, I mean, God, I was a
42 years.
kid when he got elected, has come out, and I was at the event where he officially endorsed you.
You know,
And you got
Paul,
a
you're not going to make.
by that.
I was
Yeah.
going to say you're not going to get me emotional again
Yeah.
today. Yes, the sheriff endorsed me earlier this month. It was probably the most proudest moment of this campaign, because when you get the endorsement of the dean of corrections, not just in the Commonwealth but around the country, it just meant so much to me. I've learned from the best.
Yeah.
The sheriff is the leader of modern-day corrections around the country. And I've witnessed it firsthand in some of my trips out to the National Institute of Corrections. And when you say Hampden County Sheriff's Department, Mike Ash's name comes right after it. And people just absolutely admire the work, not just that he does, the work that we do.
Right.
The men and women each and every day on the tiers, in the pods, working with the inmates, they admire the work we do. So I'm just proud of the men and women that work at the Sheriff's Department, and I'm extremely humbled and honored to have Sheriff Mike Ash's endorsement. But I think that says a lot,
Right.
Paul. Here's a man who has built a facility that is looked upon around the country. And he believes, after 42 years, that the person that is qualified to step in and keep this department moving in the right direction is Nick Cocchi.
Right.
There is no higher endorsement or compliment anybody can give you.
Absolutely, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I didn't want to. God forbid if we forgot that one, right? We probably would have heard about it, but both of us. But I just and you know, the other thing is, at one of your events there was a former inmate who came and said he wanted to help you, and I know that wasn't a plant. I mean, you know, the guy came in because you weren't aware of it until they told you about
That's
it.
right.
And because you and I have talked about this, that it's not just about, you know, running a jail. It's about making sure that the people that are in there have the opportunity to go back into the community. And that's why the position's so important. It's not just confining people. It's helping them get back into that community and become productive citizens again.
You know, one of the toughest things about being a correctional officer or a correctional employee is that you don't know if you've actually connected, because the people that come back into the jail, they failed again.
Right.
And that's not a great feeling when you see somebody who was with you come back in over and over again, because we're seeing the failed side. If you're a carpenter or a landscaper, when you drive away from that house, you can turn over your shoulder and you can see a gorgeously manicured lawn, or you can see a beautiful structure. But in corrections, we don't see that. So when we're out and about, to have an ex-offender come to one of my kickoff rallies and say to me, I'm a product of your department's good work, that's moving.
Yep.
And he says, I want to support you, Nick, because when I was in jail, you helped me get to where I am today. And, you know, Paul, I could tell you hundreds of stories like that, not just about Nick Cocchi, about all the men and women who work on behalf of our county. And that's when you know we have a department and a staff that care. See, correctional officer really means people person.
Right.
You have to be a people person. You have to care about people. You have to care about the community to make sure you keep it safe. You got to care about the offender to make sure you're giving them the resources and the tools to make a positive change in their life. You got to care about the men and women to your right and left that are working with you to make sure we all go home safe at night. So really, when you look at a correctional officer, they're in uniform, they go through an academy, but they're caregivers. They're caregivers to everybody in our county, and that's what makes me so proud that each and every day I get to go to work and change or make an impact in someone's life.
Yep.
And that's the work of all the men and women at the Sheriff's Department. We have a chance to do something pretty awesome every day, affect someone's life in a positive way.
Yep. Awesome. All right, Nick. I want to thank Nick for his time. Is there anything else you want to add?
I'd just like to say thank you, and I just give a big kudos out to the town of Longmeadow for what a wonderful day and what a wonderful tribute to our servicemen and women. And I look forward to being here next year again, but as your next sheriff of Hampden County.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Thanks
you,
for coming. And we'll be back in a little bit with our next guest, Gerald Duquette, who wants to spot off about some darn thing, but we'll be back in a little bit. Thank you.